Welcome to the Top Stoic channel. Bring positive energy into your life. 10 habits that make you mentally weak. Stoicism. Have you ever pondered why some souls remain unmoved, even when fortune turns her harshest face toward them? Why do some rise time and again, while others falter at the mere whisper of hardship? It is not fate nor birthright that grants this strength. It is discipline. It is practice. It is philosophy. In my path, I have encountered those who have known profound loss, rejection, and failure. Yet they press on not with noise, but with quiet resolve. They do not lean on luck or superstition. They have trained their minds, as one trains the body, to remain still amid the storm. This is the essence of Stoicism, not to escape pain, but to meet it with reason, to greet it as an old companion. Mental fragility is not a flaw. It is the result of habits left unchecked, of thoughts allowed to run wild, of fears left unquestioned. To feel lost, powerless, or trapped in emotion is not weakness. It is simply the untrained mind reacting as it always has. So ask yourself, what subtle patterns are draining your strength? What silent choices have bound you? In this reflection, guided by the wisdom of the Stoics, we will uncover 10 hidden habits that erode the mind's resilience, and more importantly, how to unlearn them. Walk this path with us. Watch closely. One insight, one principle, may be all you need to begin your transformation. Subscribe to the Top Stoic channel. Begin the work. The rest is not in your control. 1. Stop blaming. Start owning. The first step toward real strength. Have you ever been blindsided by a setback and immediately looked for someone to blame? Maybe it was a partner, a colleague, or just bad luck. Most of us have. Blaming others is often a reflex, a way to shield ourselves from guilt, shame, or the discomfort of failure. But what if that instinct is exactly what's holding us back? Thousands of years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born into slavery. He had no control over his condition, no say in the chains that bound him. But in time, he would teach the world one of the most liberating truths ever spoken. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. Had Epictetus spent his life blaming fate or cursing his captors, we might never have heard his name. His teachings may never have survived. But instead, he looked inward. He claimed his mind as his own, and in doing so, he became freer than most emperors. That is the power of personal responsibility. Now ask yourself, when was the last time blaming someone else actually improved your situation? Did it fix the problem? Or did it just delay the moment you had to confront your own part in it? Stoicism doesn't deny that people can hurt us or make mistakes, but it urges us to stop giving away our power. The more energy we spend blaming, the less we spend growing. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" the Stoics ask, "What can I do next?" That question shifts everything. Responsibility is power in disguise. When you take full ownership of your life, your choices, your reactions, your patterns, you tap into real power. Suddenly, you're not a victim of circumstance. You're the architect of your future. Let's say you missed a deadline at work. It's tempting to blame traffic, your inbox, or someone who distracted you. But growth begins when you say, "I didn't manage my time well." That one admission gives you the key to do better next time. No shame, just forward momentum. The Stoics taught us to separate what we can control from what we can't. Blaming others keeps you focused on the uncontrollable. Responsibility brings your attention back to where it matters: your thoughts, your decisions, your effort. How to practice this habit in real life. Start with self-awareness. The next time something goes wrong, Pause before pointing fingers. Ask, what was my role in this? Even a small part is worth examining. Take ownership, not guilt. Responsibility isn't about self-blame. It's about empowerment. When you take ownership of your problems, you give yourself permission to change the outcome. Focus on actions, not outcomes. You can't always control results, but you can control effort. Did you do your best? Were your choices aligned with your values? That's where your strength lies. Don't try to fix others. Fix your response. If you're stuck in a toxic relationship, ask, how can I set better boundaries? How can I respond more clearly? You may not be able to change them, but you can absolutely change your role in the dynamic. The mental shifts that come with responsibility. You build a growth mindset. When you view problems as learning opportunities, failure becomes a stepping stone instead of a dead end. That's how people grow strong, not by avoiding difficulty, but by facing it head-on. You gain trust and respect. Think about someone you admire. Odds are, they own their mistakes and don't make excuses. When you take responsibility, people trust you more. You show integrity, maturity, and leadership. You find peace of mind. Blame creates noise, inner conflict, resentment, frustration. But responsibility clears that fog. When you stop wasting energy on what you can't change, your mind becomes lighter, calmer. You're no longer at war with the world. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Admitting your part in a problem isn't comfortable. It means looking at your flaws, your blind spots, your fears. But every time you do, you become stronger, wiser, more prepared for what's ahead. Let's imagine you're unhappy in your current situation. Instead of blaming the economy, your upbringing, or someone who let you down, pause and ask, what can I do about this? What habits, thoughts, or beliefs are keeping me stuck? That single moment of reflection could be the turning point, the choice that defines you. Epictetus taught that responsibility is the gateway to freedom, not because it makes life easier, but because it makes you more capable, more grounded, more resilient. So here's the question. Will you choose the path of blame or the path of growth? When you decide to take ownership of your problems, you reclaim your strength. You stop being a passive observer in your own life and start becoming the author of your story. Blame is easy. Responsibility is rare. But in that rare space is where transformation begins. 2. The trap of comfort. Why playing it safe holds you back. We all crave comfort, warm routines, predictable days, familiar faces. But what if the very thing that makes us feel safe is the same thing that quietly keeps us small? Across centuries, Stoic thinkers warned us about this silent danger. Among them was Musonius Rufus, a lesser-known but profoundly wise teacher of Stoic philosophy. While many believed education was about mastering facts or arguments, Musonius taught that real learning was about mastering life. To him, wisdom wasn't proven in debate, it was proven in action. And action, he believed, begins with courage. The Stoics understood something we often forget. The path to growth always passes through discomfort. They encouraged their students not to avoid hardship, but to seek it out. Not recklessly, but purposefully. Because just like muscles only grow when pushed, our character only expands when challenged. If you never leave your comfort zone, you never discover what you're truly capable of. Every time you choose the harder path, whether it's speaking up, taking a risk, or simply showing up, despite fear, you forge inner strength. You teach yourself that fear is not a dead end, but a doorway. So ask yourself, what would I attempt if I wasn't afraid of failing? That question holds the key to your next chapter. Let discomfort be your guide, not your enemy. Let fear point to the areas where growth is waiting. And if you're ready to take that first step beyond your safe bubble, do something small but bold, like this video, and leave a comment sharing one comfort zone you'll step out of today. Your potential is waiting. All it asks is that you dare to meet it. 3. The illusion of fame and fortune, chasing shadows that fade. Have you ever imagined your name shining in lights, or your bank account overflowing with wealth? You're not alone. The dream of fame and fortune is one of the most universal and most misleading illusions of our time. From ancient Rome to today's digital age, people have been seduced by recognition and riches. But what if the things we chase aren't what truly fulfill us? Even Marcus Aurelius, the mighty Roman emperor who held the world in his hands, understood this truth. Despite his immense power and fame, Marcus didn't find peace in glory or wealth. Instead, he turned inward, filling the pages of his private journal with meditations on humility, impermanence, and the quiet strength of self-control. He reminded himself daily that the applause of others was fleeting, and that the real battle was always within. He wrote not to be admired, but to be better. According to Stoic philosophy, external rewards, fame, money, prestige are fragile and unpredictable. They are not entirely in our control, and they can vanish as quickly as they come. When we build our identity on them, we place our happiness in the hands of others. Ask yourself, have you ever reached a goal that seemed life-changing, only to feel strangely hollow afterward? That emptiness is the echo of misplaced priorities. Stoicism invites us to shift our focus inward to live a life where value isn't measured by trophies or titles, but by virtue. True success lies in self-mastery, kindness, integrity, and purpose. When your worth is defined by who you are, rather than what you have, you become unshakable. Imagine redirecting your energy not into chasing likes or luxury, but into becoming someone your future self would be proud of. Someone who leaves behind a legacy, not of wealth, but of wisdom. So before you pursue the spotlight, pause and ask, am I chasing applause or am I chasing meaning? Because real fulfillment isn't found in being admired. It's found in being authentic. 4. When the road gets rough. The Stoic way of perseverance. Have you ever stood at the foot of a mountain, real or symbolic, and questioned whether you had the strength to climb it? It's a moment we all face. When the path ahead looks steep, the weight on our shoulders feels heavier than ever, and the thought of giving up whispers louder than hope. In such moments, we're tested not just in strength, but in spirit. The Stoics knew these crossroads well. They didn't believe in running from hardship or pretending life would always be smooth. Instead, they embraced adversity as the forge in which true character is shaped. One of the clearest examples is Cato the Younger, a man admired not only for his intellect and political wisdom, but for his unyielding dedication to principle. In a time of growing tyranny and moral compromise, Cato stood firm, even when it meant personal loss. He refused to surrender his ideals, even when doing so would have saved him. To Cato, giving in wasn't just defeat, it was the death of integrity. His story reminds us that real courage isn't the absence of difficulty, it's the choice to remain upright when the world demands you bow. But what about us? When challenges hit, when relationships unravel, careers stall, or illness strikes, how do we respond? Do we retreat into safety, or do we move forward, even when our knees tremble? The Stoic path doesn't romanticize struggle for its own sake. It teaches us to meet life as it is, not as we wish it were. That means learning when to persevere. And just as importantly, when letting go is the wiser, braver choice. Let's break down what this looks like in practice. 1. Mastering control. What's yours? What's not? Stoicism begins with a powerful truth. You don't control everything, but you do control how you respond. Your thoughts, your actions, your effort. In hardship, ask yourself, what's truly within my control right now? That question becomes your anchor. Trying to force what's unchangeable only drains energy, but shifting focus to what you can change your mindset, habits, or response restores clarity and strength. 2. Logic over emotion. Choosing reason first. When times are hard, emotions surge. Fear, anger, frustration, they cloud judgment. That's why Stoics urge us to pause, to breathe, and to think. Don't rush into decisions. Instead, assess your situation with reason. Ask, if I stay the course, what are the risks? If I let go, what doors might open? When we approach adversity with calm logic instead of panic, we make clearer, wiser choices. 3. Virtue as the North Star. For the Stoics, the good life isn't measured by comfort or success, it's defined by virtue, courage, wisdom, self-discipline, and justice. These are the compass points that guide every action. So in the face of hardship, ask, which choice aligns more with my values? Sticking with something for the wrong reasons. Fear, pride, or pressure is not strength, and walking away from something that violates your values isn't weakness, it's integrity. Sometimes, the most virtuous path is letting go, whether that's ending a toxic relationship, quitting a job that stifles your soul, or releasing a goal that no longer reflects who you are. 4. Resilience is a muscle. Stoicism teaches that struggles are not roadblocks, they're training grounds. Each obstacle is an opportunity to grow more resilient. Imagine adversity as weightlifting for the soul. With each repetition of effort, every time you stand back up, you become stronger. Not because life gets easier, but because you become tougher. Yet strength isn't blind stubbornness. Real resilience includes the wisdom to know when a battle is no longer worth fighting. 5. Protecting your inner peace. Mental and emotional well-being is not a luxury, it's essential. Stoicism honors peace of mind as a pillar of strength. Persisting through suffering that brings no value only leads to burnout and bitterness. At some point, staying becomes more harmful than quitting. And knowing when to stop, when to step back for your health, your clarity, your sanity is a sign of maturity, not defeat. So, if you're facing a hard decision right now, consider this. What's within your control? What does reason, not fear, tell you? Which choice reflects your deepest values? How could this challenge make you stronger? And how is your mental well-being affected? As Seneca wisely put it, there is no favorable wind for the sailor who does not know where he is going. Without a clear sense of direction, every obstacle feels like a storm. But with clarity of purpose, even the roughest seas can be navigated. In the end, giving up isn't always failure. Sometimes it's realignment. It's reclaiming your power. It's the recognition that not every mountain is yours to climb, and that's okay. What matters most is not whether you always endure, but whether your choices reflect who you are and who you aim to become. That is the heart of Stoic strength. 5. Mastering the storm within. How Stoics tame emotion. Have you ever acted in the heat of the moment, said something you regretted, made a snap decision, or reacted in a way that surprised even you? Then, in the quiet that followed, did you wonder, why did I let my emotions take the wheel? You're not alone. Emotions are powerful forces, and when left unchecked, they can shape the course of our lives, often for the worse. But the Stoics offer a path through this storm, a compass to help us navigate the turbulence within. Let's begin with Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. His journey into philosophy didn't begin in peace, it began in shipwreck. He lost everything he owned in a single moment. But instead of drowning in despair, he found something more valuable than material goods: clarity. From the wreckage of his life, Zeno built a new foundation, one grounded in reason, resilience, and emotional discipline. His story reminds us that emotions aren't meant to be feared or ignored. They're signals. And like storm clouds, they pass if we don't chase after them or get swept away. The Stoic approach isn't about silencing emotion, but about understanding it. It teaches us to pause, to feel fully but not be ruled by those feelings. It reminds us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we interpret and respond to it. So the next time anger, fear, or sorrow rise within you, try this. Don't fight it. Don't feed it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what would a Stoic choose to do right now? This single question can anchor you. It gives you space to breathe, to choose, to act, not react. Over time, this practice becomes power. You begin to see emotions not as chains, but as tools. You gain freedom, not from feeling, but from being enslaved by feeling. In mastering our emotions, we reclaim our strength. And in that strength, we find peace. 6. When ego drowns out inner wisdom. As we deepen our understanding of life and ourselves, there's a quiet struggle we all face. One that's often overlooked, yet deeply influential. The battle between ego and inner wisdom. The ego is loud. It wants recognition, validation, applause. It pushes us toward achievement, not for the sake of excellence, but for the illusion of worth. Meanwhile, the voice of inner knowledge is calm, steady, and easily ignored. It doesn't shout, it waits, and too often, it gets drowned out. Let's go back in time to the story of Epictetus, a man born into slavery, who rose not by chasing status, but by mastering himself. Though he owned nothing, he taught kings and philosophers. Why? Because he understood something most of us forget. True greatness has nothing to do with position, and everything to do with principle. For Epictetus, the real enemy wasn't hardship or misfortune, it was the ego. The ego, he said, is ruled by fear and desire. It constantly craves more approval, more attention, more control. But wisdom? Wisdom seeks clarity, not applause. It leads us to inner peace, not public praise. Now, consider your own path. How often have you chased goals that were more about image than meaning? Have you ever felt hollow after achieving something, realizing it fed your pride but not your soul? The Stoics invite us to pause and listen inward. They remind us that fulfillment doesn't come from being admired, it comes from living authentically, from aligning with our deepest values, not society's loudest expectations. Each day, you face choices. Will you listen to the part of you that wants to look impressive, or the part that seeks to be whole? Ask yourself, is this my ego speaking, or my inner wisdom? That one question can shift your direction entirely. When we learn to choose stillness over status, substance over show, we begin to live not for the crowd, but for our conscience. And in doing so, we rediscover a power that no applause can give. The power of peace within. 7. Breaking free from the chains of the past. At some point, we've all found ourselves replaying old memories, reliving moments, both painful and sweet, over and over in our minds. It's a deeply human instinct, a way of holding on to what shaped us. Yet this habit, though natural, often traps us. It keeps us tied to what was, while robbing us of the power of what is. The Stoic path offers a different way forward, a way that teaches us how to honor the past without becoming enslaved by it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, captured this beautifully when he said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." Despite ruling an empire and shouldering the weight of the known world, Marcus understood that obsessing over what had already happened was not only fruitless, it was harmful. Stoicism doesn't ask us to erase the past. It doesn't tell us to forget. Instead, it urges us to put everything into perspective. The past is a teacher, not a master. It is there to offer lessons, not to dictate our future. So how can we reflect on our history in a healthy, empowering way? 1. Remember without remaining. The Stoics believed that while memory is essential, living in memory is not. We should recall past events only to understand them, not to relive them endlessly. Obsessive rumination leads to guilt, regret, and stagnation. Instead, acknowledge what happened, take the insight it offers, and return to the present moment, where real action still lives. 2. Turn mistakes into mentors. Every misstep from our past has something valuable to teach us. A poor decision, a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, they can all become powerful guides. Rather than wallow in what went wrong, Stoicism teaches us to extract the lesson and apply it moving forward. Growth, after all, is born from reflection, not regret. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What will I do differently now? When you turn errors into wisdom, you turn suffering into strength. 3. Cultivate gratitude for what was good. While it's easy to get lost in what hurt us, the past also contains joy, growth, love, and triumph. The Stoics emphasized gratitude as a key pillar of resilience. Take time to recall the beautiful moments, the people who supported you, the victories you earned, the laughter that brightened your darkest days. These memories aren't just pleasant, they're grounding. They remind us of what we've survived and what we're capable of becoming. 4. Release the weight of resentment. One of the heaviest burdens we carry from the past is anger at others, at ourselves, or at life itself. But no amount of resentment can change what has already been done. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what happened, only how we choose to interpret and respond to it now. Letting go of bitterness is not weakness, it's wisdom. Forgiveness, whether of yourself or others, isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing your spirit from the grip of pain. The sooner you release that emotional weight, the lighter your future becomes. 5. Accept the flow of change. The Stoics recognized that life is in constant motion. Nothing stays the same. People, situations, even our own thoughts and feelings evolve. Clinging to what once was blinds us to what is becoming. Instead of resisting change, practice acceptance. Reflect on this truth. Every moment, joyful or painful, is part of a greater current that carries us through life. By embracing impermanence, we free ourselves from futile longing and open up to the beauty of transformation. 6. Apply the Stoic lens to your story. When we reflect on our past through a Stoic mindset, we begin to see it not as a chain, but as a stepping stone. Each event, no matter how difficult, holds a seed of understanding. With reason and courage, we can transform old wounds into wisdom and carry that forward into the present with clarity. Try this. The next time you catch yourself ruminating on something from long ago, pause and ask, what is this thought teaching me? What can I do right now, in this moment, to move forward? 7. Choose the present. Every day, ultimately. The present moment is where our power lies. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And every day, we are offered the chance to begin again, to act with purpose, to speak with truth, to think with clarity. When we live in the present, guided by reason rather than regret, we unlock our full potential. We stop reacting to life and start shaping it. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire and writing in the quiet hours of war and duty, returned to this truth again and again. Only the present is real. Only the present can be shaped. 8. Leave a legacy of presence. When we choose presence over the past, we not only find peace we created. In doing so, we also shape the legacy we leave behind. A legacy not of sorrow, but of strength. Not of what was lost, but of how we lived well, despite it all. So if you're ready to move forward, declare it with intention. Live in the present moment. That's not just a comment. It's a commitment to yourself and to the life that still lies ahead. 8. Complaining about what you can't control. Let's face it, everyone has grumbled about things beyond their influence. Bad weather, traffic jams, long lines, or someone else's rude behavior. It's an easy habit to slip into. But the truth is, no amount of complaining changes the situation. All it really does is steal our peace. Stoicism offers us a powerful mindset shift. Instead of getting trapped in frustration over things we can't change, it urges us to focus on what we can: our thoughts, our attitudes, and our responses. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, taught that we suffer not because of events themselves, but because of our judgments about them. He urged his students to draw a clear line between what is within their control, our inner world, and what lies beyond it. Think about the last time you vented over something you had no power to fix. Did it help, or did it simply drain your energy? Stoicism doesn't ask us to suppress emotion. Instead, it invites us to respond wisely. When we catch ourselves complaining, we can pause and ask, is this something I can change? If not, let it go. Redirect your energy toward your mindset and your choices. By doing this consistently, we cultivate resilience, calm, and clarity, and inspire others to do the same. That's how we begin to build a life rooted in peace and purpose, no matter what storms come our way. 9. Indulging in excessive pleasures. In our pursuit of happiness, it's natural to be drawn to comfort, entertainment, and luxury. After all, who doesn't want to feel good? But while pleasure can brighten our lives, the Stoics warn us, when we begin to chase pleasure for its own sake, we risk losing the very essence of what it means to live well. The ancient Stoic philosophers Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius understood that pleasure is not inherently harmful. What concerned them was excess. They saw that too much indulgence weakens the soul, dulls the mind, and distances us from our higher selves. Pleasure, when unchecked, becomes a master, not a companion. Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt more hollow after satisfying an intense craving? Whether it's overeating, binge-watching, splurging on material goods, or seeking validation through social media. Many pleasures, while thrilling in the moment, leave us craving more. And in that craving, we often forget what truly matters. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it." In other words, real liberation comes not from indulging every urge, but from mastering it. The Stoics believed that the person who can say no to desire is far more powerful than the one who constantly says Yes, they weren't advocating for a joyless existence. Far from it. Stoicism encourages us to appreciate what we have, but to do so mindfully. To enjoy pleasures, yes, but to remain free from their grip. A Stoic doesn't reject a delicious meal or a warm bath, but they are just as content without them. Why? Because their peace doesn't depend on fleeting comforts. Excessive pleasure, in Stoic eyes, poses several dangers. It undermines virtue. A life built on indulgence tends to neglect the four cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When pleasure becomes the priority, our choices become selfish, short-sighted, and impulsive. It weakens the will. Just as muscles grow weaker when not exercised, the soul loses its strength when it constantly gives in. Over time, this leads to dependency not only on pleasures themselves, but on external circumstances for our happiness. It offers false happiness. The pleasure we get from indulgence is fleeting. It feels good now, but fades quickly, leaving behind dissatisfaction and a craving for more. Stoicism teaches that lasting happiness, the kind that anchors you through life's storms, comes not from outside things, but from within. So how do we begin to live differently? Practice moderation. This doesn't mean denial. It means discernment. Enjoy pleasures, but never at the cost of your principles or peace. Eat when hungry, but not to the point of discomfort. Rest when needed, but don't make comfort your purpose. Ask yourself, does this bring real value to my life, or just temporary escape? Strengthen your inner resolve. Self-discipline is like a muscle. It grows with use. Set small challenges for yourself. Skip the dessert once in a while. Choose silence over distraction. Decline unnecessary purchases. In each act of restraint, you reclaim power over your desires. Turn inward. The Stoics believed in the strength of introspection and philosophical reflection. Through journaling, meditation, or contemplation, you can stay rooted in your deeper purpose. When temptations arise, remind yourself of the person you're trying to become, not the fleeting urges of the moment. Cultivate gratitude. One of the most powerful ways to reduce overindulgence is to appreciate what you already have. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from craving to contentment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." In the end, Stoicism doesn't strip joy from life, it refines it. It teaches us how to savor life's pleasures without becoming their prisoner. It shows us that true pleasure is not found in endless consumption, but in alignment with our values, our nature, and our highest self. So the next time you're tempted by something that seems irresistible, pause. Ask yourself, does this lead me toward the life I want to build? If the answer is no, let it go with strength, not regret. If the answer is yes, enjoy it with gratitude, not greed. Living this way creates a kind of joy far deeper than momentary thrill, a joy rooted in clarity, character, and freedom. Let us walk this path together, choosing substance over excess, depth over distraction, and wisdom over impulse. That is the Stoic way and the path to a life of enduring fulfillment. 10. Fearing death as we journey through life, there's an ever-present shadow that looms over us, the fear of death. It affects the choices we make, colors our experiences, and often leads us to live in a state of constant anxiety about the future. But rather than running from this fear, Stoicism urges us to face it head-on, not with dread, but with understanding. Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, often discussed death in his writings. He taught that fearing death is as unnatural as fearing the setting sun. Death, like the sunset, is simply a natural part of existence, a cycle that is as certain as the rising and setting of the sun. Seneca reminded us that to fear death is to misunderstand it. Death isn't an enemy to be avoided or feared. It's an integral part of the universe's natural flow. The Stoics believed that death is not an interruption of life, but a return to the very same universe from which we emerged. Just as we have a beginning, we have an end, and both are part of the grand procession of humanity. In facing our mortality, we come to understand that the fear of death often stems from the unknown, the uncertainty of what comes after. But, in truth, this fear only distracts us from the most important aspect of our lives, the present. Fearing death blinds us to the beauty of the present moment, causing us to overlook the rich, vibrant life we have right now. Instead of worrying about when or how we will meet our end, Stoicism teaches us to focus on how we live in the meantime. What can we control? How can we ensure that our lives are meaningful? The Stoics remind us that while we cannot control when or how death will come, we do have control over how we live. We can live with intention, making each moment count, appreciating the world around us, and living in harmony with our nature. As Stoics, we walk the path of life not in denial of death, but in acceptance of it. Let us meet its certainty not with dread, but with curiosity and courage. Each dawn is a gift, a fleeting chance to act with virtue, to love with depth, and to live with intention. Time is not ours to hoard. It slips through our hands like water. Death is not the end, but the mirror that shows us how to live rightly. Embrace it as a teacher. Let its presence sharpen your sense of purpose. If this resonates with your soul, subscribe to The Top Stoic, where ancient wisdom guides modern lives.